Nice to see you.
Oh, well, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, she did. Oh, she was mad at you. Yeah, I know. Mom stays in touch, so call, and then I hear I almost did something, you know what? So nice to see you. Yeah, hi, how are you? Nice to hear you. Over here, so we're just walking up. So I have a little thing here. At some point I get up and try not to fall down, I guess. I was just say, good night, good wife. How does your family and then, the second, and then after so then, yeah, so I and then there's very but it may not have been
It's my nickname. Yeah. My girlfriend, yeah. So my sister has her nickname, and our other friend walking down the street. Yeah, we all have our own selves. Very good. There was like nothing wrong with it, but he.
They were in the same similar right
Yeah, Emily was my mother's youngest sister.
I'm Karen, I know him through the county country. In Antarctica, there were
Emily's side.
Emily's on.
Emily's one of 8 sisters.
Oh, gracious.
All of them had children, anywhere from 2 to 5 children. So there were 26 grandchildren.
And that was great.
Who knows?
And I don't know about oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's not bad, you know.
Yeah.
Well, one I didn't actually put on.
She's from a couple times.
Oh my God. When he turned 100, he was planning his own big party. And then he kept telling me, man, you can give me $1 for every year I live. I said, I can I? He said his friend that was back east was a doctor with $100 bill. So I said, I'll give you a penny for every year you are home, so in his card I put $1. No, when he was 99, I gave him $1. I said, you need a penny. And when he was 100, I said, oh, inflation. And I gave him $10.
Give me $1 for every year and I'll come to your party.
More time goes, that's like, well, let's kind of talk about money. Yeah, that's what plays. You know what?
Linda?
Hi, I'm John. I'm Emily's nephew. Portland.
Okay. Jan, I'm Linda. I am a daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
That's nice. So do you recognize some of these pictures of
Oh,
the
yeah.
family then? Or?
Some of them,
Yeah.
Well, right. Some of the others,
Like her
not so
kids?
much. Her kids, I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
them.
Well,
I know,
my son was the one that put some pictures of Emily in the younger years when they were first married. And Andrea was just like Deb. She did. Yeah.
We did.
Starting the farmer outfit, that's good.
Yeah, this was for the 100th birthday party. That's my son and my husband. The younger three. And that was the boys' mom. This was young Ted, and he was holding Tom, his oldest son, and one of his sisters.
Oh my gosh, okay. I was there yesterday. I'm Tom's oldest. All right. I know he loved coming by and giving you all shit. Yeah, he was taking me down the country in the morning to get bacon and everything for breakfast.
Yep.
So I'm Jan. Emily is his mother's
Youngest sister.
Oh my
James Ryan.
I'm John. We came back from Fort Myers. My younger brother Justin, his family. That's all dude over there. You've been reporting a long time. Your whole life. Okay. Okay. So you were 80. So you would have been one of the first of that whole the Great White Migration. Well, I wasn't part of the California migration. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, no, they're...
It wasn't really a migration from Florida. It was like a... It was just too crowded down there. Yeah.
And I lived in Florida.
And I met her, and she was from Portland. Somebody had to go right beside her too. So you can really say I met her well. There we go. Hello. Oh, my name's Ryan. I'm Tom's oldest son. Oh, hi.
So hi, I'm Mike and Kate. We live 2 houses down from Ted.
Sure. You got the garage B&B.
You got the what?
The garage B&B.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Ted used to come down and admire my corn.
That sounds about
Oh
right.
boy.
Maybe some little bit of critique, some pointers.
No, he's just look at like 40 years ago, 40 stalks of corn. I think he had a few thousand, a couple acres. So you're on the Great. Great guy there. Oh my God.
That's Melissa.
He's here, right? The market ran out and a couple of posts rotted out. I told him, yeah, I'm sorry, the check cleared. That was like 20 years later.
Oh, she did? Okay. There you go.
Oh yeah, those are ready mix, those are 60-pound bags. Yeah. Oh, I did a few projects.
Some of these people are even like occasions like this. So I went to this funeral, which is like Emily's some of these family members I've never seen. Spouse is a family member.
Right. You don't know, you don't remember it, some of your cousins and stuff, and get together for weddings and funerals.
That's kind of it.
And so, then we started doing one family gathering, just so we could, get to see them.
Most of our annual, my mother's side family.
Okay.
Not everybody.
Right.
How do we, 10 of us are 2 years apart.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Indiana State Parks have a big hotel thing. Never in one of the rooms having drinks, and the kids are just out there raising them all. And you're in the seats.
We had a big, it's both sides, my mom's side, my dad's side, both three good side family. So my mom's side, we did a family reunion in July. There's like 90 people there. Yeah, like a great time. We went down to Southern Oregon and just had, had 3 days together. So that was fun.
Year 2000 was really Normally in Colorado we had that one. But yeah, I knew all my cousins.
Yeah.
People like Emily's kids, they were all really kids. Rick was like 4 years old. John is even.
Okay, yeah, I worked with him.
So, and they all seem to be Stephanie was very young, so nobody died.
Your brother,
Bill was several years older.
Okay.
And he was kind of disappointed going to reunions because he wasn't his age. Alan was the closest. Good time.
Yeah, good.
A lot of good memories. I don't know if any of those kids, Rick or John, ever really got
Anything, not just anything, but anything.
No, one time we got rid of him, we went out and we broke into this abandoned farmhouse. Did
you break the window?
No,
always just kind of open the door, push the door open, roll your path wide, or something like that. Oh yeah, and I had a lot of good times. What is it that John does?
John Barker. Yes, I know John Barker. Hi, good, how are you? And I'm Jan. You're his wife. I've never met you, I don't think. No, yeah. Oh, okay. Just do the funeral rounds tonight.
That's the only time I ever wear a suit.
And you are going to Barker's?
I know Ted through the store. We tell him. He came in and talked all the time.
I know.
I know.
So you must know John too.
Oh yeah, I know John. He's right there.
He's master. A rainbow mask at that.
Yes.
Would not.
I didn't think so.
We just all been COVID back in September, so we're good for a couple months.
My last job about 3 weeks ago, so I'm good.
I had a shot Well, I just, we get it, our family gets it here. Because we have it, my daughter is playing volleyball in school and I teach, and it's just, there's no way to avoid it. I mean, even with my vaccinations, so it's just, it keeps changing and morphing. So.
Yeah, I'm due for another one about
Really? Like how often do you do it?
Well, the one I had was not a new one.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
They told us.
Maybe it's not that, but they were just in Ireland, yeah, with their mom. Yeah, I maybe
I was saying, I wonder if we'll do this. And then like 2 seconds later, we were like, wait, no one does CDs. Laptops doesn't feed. We have places for these CDs. We don't do it. So I was realizing that.
So the young lady in the kind of brown, oh sorry, brownish,
That's
Rick. That's Kathleen. Oh, that's Kathleen. Okay. Well, Les, that's her husband.
Yeah. I just wasn't.
Yep, I knew it was one of Rick's daughters, but I didn't know which one.
Got stranded and stayed at our place.
Yeah, it is. She was driving back from somewhere. Her car died in Fort Worth. Picked her up and her car was sucked. She couldn't suck with the dealerships so they could fix it. And she had to stay with us and we don't have air conditioning. It was 100 degrees.
How did she know that?
She probably got a hold of her father and he says, well, I got a cousin in Fort Worth.
Or Debbie called, I don't remember what.
She probably got a hold of her and said, like, what do I do?
But wait, real quick. So they're telling the story about.
But we're done. That's kind of the story.
I'm Lisa.
Hi, I'm John. I'm Emily's nephew.
Okay. Did you get stranded and then help you when you were younger?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes,
explain.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oh my God. It's been so long.
Yes, it has.
Well, yeah.
How did you know to
I honestly did not recognize you.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I called Dad, and he was like, "So, okay, this is a very, oh my God, it's nice. Can I give you guys a hug?" I still think of you guys quite a bit about how kind you guys were that time. It was like such an extreme act of hospitality. And then, so I was
lights.
maybe no. Remember, I was in labor with Helen.
That's right.
Premature labor with Helen the night before.
Okay, that's right. Because that's the last time I saw him.
Yeah, no, so I was driving the Saab. So we had that old that Saab or white car that she gave me.
Oh, okay.
So I was driving down after coming up
So
from
nice.
college. I was coming back down to California.
Did you figure out
My clutch gave out and
There's reservations.
the clutch like fell out of it. Yeah,
Okay,
basically fell out of the car. And so I had to like I somehow made it to some random thing. And then I called Dad and I was like, "Can you please come and get me? It's gonna be 4 days away." And he was like, "No, I'm not coming now. We're gonna find someone that you can stay with."
Why didn't you talk to me?
I'm not like good at working with her like that. He said no and I said okay.
I would have come down and been like, let's go have fun.
I know.
But there's a little bit of a backstory on that, too.
Is there? I don't
We owed
remember.
him.
Okay?
Oh, did you?
Because one time we were on our way up to Seattle with the new
You go onto their website and you can read a bit and you can read.
So maybe he was just exploring this time. And so I like spent a couple of days with them at their house with their son, I think, right?
Yeah, Sarah, I think.
I said it was 100 degrees with no AC.
Oh, I didn't remember that at all.
She likes to be hot.
I live in LA with no AC,
Yeah, right.
and I read a bunch of Harry Potter, and I did some crafts, and he like set me up with like making all these crafts, and it was really fun.
You did some crafts?
I felt really bad for you guys, so I was just like sitting there in your house, and it was so nice of you guys. It was the most sweet thing in the whole world. They took me out to lunch or dinner at like some place with your son. It was just, it was really sweet, and it's actually something I remember a lot. Like someone was like really nice to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to have family. I know. Well, it's like,
Yeah, no, it's great.
we take the Saab into the shop up here as a clutch. That
I
was
gave out a second time, because that was the first time. The first time I gave out was family time.
Yeah.
This is the second time I gave out. I've
So
never played
I
with
bring it to the shop, and he goes,
I mean,
the guy
I didn't
comes out,
see
and
any
he's like,
younger.
I have never seen
Before he
anything
could
like
throw
this.
one. I'm sure those were there, but I didn't see any of them.
Like 6 places, and he
They're
goes,
so cute.
do you have a teenager driving this car? And I'm like, well, yeah. And he was like, oh my God, she must be the worst driver ever. And I was like, yeah.
I am the only, I would say I'm the only child that has not told
Kind of got him going on
So let's just keep that
True.
true.
And you were the only who had a stick. It was a stick.
Yeah, I'm really good at driving stick.
Yeah, no kids now know how to drive stick. But I had this little stick shift song.
It was so fun.
Obviously,
I had used it heavily. I didn't have that car in college, so I actually didn't know what
Yeah,
happened.
that's why I'm saying you didn't put that down.
Well, I did. It was a first year of college, and I think, no, you know what, I was going to
Boy,
visit
if you asked
Carrie.
him about
My friend Carrie, and I was coming back. So I think, yeah.
he would
Is that what it is? I honestly don't remember, like, going home. Yeah, I was,
He was into it. John.
Funny? Yeah.
I'm
She was
well.
like,
Did you meet
I don't
Karen?
think I had a cell phone. I think I had
No, they didn't.
Okay, good.
No, I don't think I had
Cousin
it. Yeah. It was
Yeah,
in
20 first
2002.
cousins
So I asked, I went into some random place. There was like right on the
They're all over the place. Well, I don't know. That's what I've said my whole life. I have 20 years.
He actually picked up.
how were you able to get the car? They swear on it.
Yeah, I think I did it totally with the song.
And so when they all had kids, and they all had kids.
Wow.
Normally they gave us that. And they like, you know, the song.
Grandma was in can't fix it.
Yeah, she
The
was the
only thing I
youngest
can
of
think
the
of is that we had to have been out of town. Because there's no way we would not have come and gotten you and hung out with you.
Oh no, this is a different dad.
We're
This is a different type of parent.
He was the West Coast.
That is just like, I am not coming down the gate like that.
Bill's in
I
San
was like, just kind of
Francisco, right?
He was like, no.
He's big. Yeah.
This is a different dad. This is not a dad that
You would not have
Yeah,
remembered
yeah,
this.
definitely. Yeah, LA, of course.
I don't regret it. It's great. No, I know. It's an opportunity to get
Been around a bit. A
It
lot of
was felt really
Midwest.
bad because
Yeah.
for me it was so hot and I couldn't.
Yeah,
Oh, I did not care. I do have zero memory of that. All I have is memory of how nice you guys were and how much. And I also felt like bad because I was like languishing around the house. Like I was like, I don't know what to do.
No, it's okay.
I was literally
A
like,
lot of Harry Potter.
I read
Did she
Harry Potter.
respond?
Great. Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, okay,
I'm glad.
good.
I'm glad it wasn't.
He's in the Dow. What is that?
Okay, so this is my daughter.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yes, that's true. I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he's also, you know, and you've got all the sisters, right?
Yeah.
Ida Rose is. Oh.
Exactly. You might not realize that.
Second.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
She
Ida
is
Rose.
so hard.
Yeah, so you know.
Her post, well, I'm not on social media, but everyone's supposed to show me about Gaza. Oh my goodness. Okay. And I get it. It's a crazy situation. But anyway. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I was on that rock.
And the other daughter I
I was my youngest. No, I was the youngest. Yeah. Hi, how are you? I'm good. Nice to see you. Sorry, I just stepped on your foot.
Oh, Hannah.
You guys are nice to make the trip. Yeah. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Are you doing yard work? Oh, no.
We've got places to go.
There are pictures of my.
those leaves will just right themselves.
Yeah, they are coming down.
I really have no pictures of my wedding.
Yes, you do that everywhere.
I know, but like my daughter, so actually mow the front lawn, and it died over summer. Yes.
Yeah, ours is growing
We
back.
just need to mow it and then let it breathe. Yeah.
We just let it die out during the summer.
Boy, I rent a house, and the landlord now lives downstairs. And I do that, but my job is the grass. So I do the same thing. I water the garden, but not the grass. And he hates that. So he'll go out and water. But anyway, it mostly dies. But it's back. So yeah, gangbusters. Oh yeah, no. Very, what do they call it? Drought resistant.
Opens at 11.
No, it doesn't make sense anyway. I get it. Walk around. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, we have a little, like one day I said to him, we're walking and talking. Anyway, we kind of have this back and forth. But anyway, it's all fun. But yeah, the weeds and the grass are growing big time. I just cut it yesterday. But it might be the last time of the year. I like that break from cutting the grass, until like early March.
I saw you over there with the rainbow mask. Melissa was over there. Says, "You wear a mask like that?"
I wear it.
Probably you need a scarf and stripe.
Oh, right, there you go.
And they do that.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. I gotta have Yeah, I used to work at the grocery store down the street, Sharon, and I wear a mask every day. And we got started, we had to wear masks at the beginning of COVID. You know, they asked us all to wear masks, so we did. And I just got used to it. And I'm around, we're around hundreds of thousands of people every day. I just wear it, and I don't care, it doesn't bother me. Like, if I had to wear glasses, see that, I think that's a pain, because then they fog up, and that's a nightmare. But I don't. So I just wear it every day, and so coming here, I'm like, I don't care. So I don't mean to offend anybody, but I will say, I buy a box of the rainbow mask through Amazon whenever I run out. Because, I've just got to be an outlet for my crazy kids who are all over the map with regard to stuff.
When I see you, you're crazy.
Yeah, there you go. See, you know. So that's why I'm trying to be supportive. Supportive dad.
We live in Portland.
Oh yeah, you got it down there.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think Jane, I've been suggesting that for so long. Get out of the town. Yeah. I think she thinks really? For you? The Dallas is like, it's
Dallas is
the Dallas. I mean, it's like a town of time forgotten.
But it's so much better than, 10 miles further up. Wait, no, that's the, yeah, you're right, the Dallas. We've never explained that.
Oh yeah, Hood River is great. The Dallas, wow. It's funny, they're so close and so different. You know that area? It's beautiful. It's right on the Columbia River. So it faces north, But Hood River is this, there's lots of vacation spots and windsurfing, so it attracts this kind of active young people.
Plus that whole, Columbia Valley, you've got all the wineries.
Yeah, but 10 miles further down the road is the Dalles, which could be the same, but there's a big train depot there, and so it ends up being this old kind of industrial town, I guess is how I would describe it, that hasn't really recovered from whichever financial catastrophe that happened. It looks really like it's in trouble, that kind of a town.
I'm sure the Dallas is not recovered from the Spanish flu.
Well, yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
1918.
But anyway, it's all good. She likes it there. She's got this tight group of buddies, and that's what makes it nice.
You should move to Portland. I mean, it's possibly so much better.
Yeah.
Rent's insane.
Actually, she has mentioned it, yeah.
On the positive side, murders are slightly down this year.
Good. Perfect.
Get out of the bright side. Get out, she can, protest and demonstrate against the media. She'll probably like that.
Right, yeah, exactly. They went many times to the Black Lives Matter protest. Yeah, they were there. They would text me and say, I just got made. Yeah, I know. Sorry, yeah.
And then there were some protesters.
You might not have wanted her to know that your house was a safe haven. Me and all her buddies would go hide in your basement or something.
Her daughter lives down at the other end of the block. Western Insurance House. And they got a little tear gas. We're starting short.
Sure, I guess, but I hope it's a share until everyone else this room.
There's like 3 more over there.
Good. 2 more
now.
We're gonna need them.
One of them out here.
Hi, how you doing? Big trip. These guys are all super important.
Folks, there's some
You guys are both so much, sorry.
you want me to make your
You look so much older than the last time we saw you. But it's nice to meet you.
I'm glad I'm going to sit back.
Yeah. So I'm easy to identify.
Yeah, they're not like, I don't know.
All right. I don't know where they were taking it.
How are you doing?
I feel the same way. I want to get there. So. Oh, I don't
Yeah. No, that's where we're
That would have been nice to me, like when I called, because Ted says, well, he said, well, already open the limit, don't tell anybody else. I don't know, they had to make, tell them that we were missing, so I think we should do that. Well, because it said you had to call, invitation, did you call to say we were coming?
I told Stephanie, we got reservations.
Yeah, okay. So that's what it said on the website. I thought, oh my goodness.
We knew we were going to be here.
Okay, good.
I got a good story on the way. I had to come
Are there any, I was going to say outside, pretty part of the world, Portland. It's a pretty part of the world. It's an interesting city. A lot more interesting to some than there. I've been there. I think they all have it for a while. I think you'll see that. Oh, yeah. But I like it there. And I came from Florida, so. What part of Florida? Southeast, West Palm Beach. Oh, that's good. Yeah. But I've been in Portland since 80. You know, yeah, of course. Let me just sneak behind here for a second. Excuse me, they want to see if we'll crack the door here for just a minute.
They come in or out? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they come in. So it'll be pretty cool. All right. Want to leave it that way? Yeah, is that okay? I can bump that air out too. I'm John. I'm Emily's nephew. I've been originally Ohio, grew up in Florida, and moved to Oregon. Yeah, that's right.
Kurt, Kate, it's time for us to begin. Where are you sitting?
Oh, really?
John, nice to see you.
I saw somebody who looked just like you.
Really?
Australia.
Oh yeah, well I don't think that was me.
Really? I would swear.
That's crazy.
Rick, you know?
That is crazy.
We're having lunch.
Did you drive up yesterday?
Yeah, we drove up yesterday.
I follow your travels on Facebook. You had some fun things going on. Haven't you been back here twice to Spain? Yeah, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds really
Break with everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Familiar with.
Well, that's part of the point of it. To some extent.
More extreme than most stuff.
Yeah, I would think so. And there's actually some good food here too. Not really?
There is good food. It's a little bland than you would expect. You know, it's not like Mexican food.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But there's some really good food.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. How's your family? How's Marilyn and everybody? Good.
Still working. Works like 1 or 2 days a week.
Very much that. Yeah, I talked to him. You know, he was talking about the oil interest thing. So I had a lot of good conversation with him, and kind of understand it, but not as well as he does. So.
But see, I ended up with most of my mother's stuff.
Oh, you did? He told me about that. Yeah.
We had kind of a silent auction, put your bids in, and I won. It turned out to be a very good investment.
Yeah, I was looking at moms, you know, trying to figure out trying to do her bills and all this is happening. You know, she's got a chunk of it. It's not insignificant.
I got almost as much as your mother.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a little bit.
We have started.
Came down from Aunt Mary.
Ted Jr. You might wonder why we started with Ave Maria, because Dad told me to. Just that simple. Being that Ted in Logansport, Indiana was a little confusing for me. Dad was okay with it. But I lived with Ted Jr. or Teddy or Little Ted for 75 years. I'm honored to co-officiate this with Deb White. Where's Deb? Deb, right in front. Thank you. One of Emily's 4 children. We're here to honor, remember, respect, and reminisce about Oscar Theodore Ted Blank. He impacted all of our lives, and I know from reading his autobiography that he impacted a lot of other lives. He impacted thousands of people around the country, particularly in Indiana. For 10 years, Dad's been planning today. I have his handwritten notes here. Wow. Ave Maria. 2 other songs that'll be sung, and then we've added the thank you song. But it's all on here, where to do things, when to do things. And that's why we're doing them that way. I want to thank each of you for attending, some from 1,000 miles away. How many of those do we have? 1,000 and more miles away. Wow. And some from down the street. We've got some, let's turn around and wave at the streamers. We got some streaming going on up at the top. Is a camera, you can just wave your hand. So the streaming people from around the country, we thank you for being here. A special thank you to my grandson, my son, Michael, OT's grandson, for putting together the slides. He had 250 pictures that he had to whittle down to something that was manageable. I love you, Michael. Thank you. A special thanks to my brother Tom, who has put a lot of miles on the car recently, driving over here and helping take care of Dad. Special thank you to Pete, who moved out here, tore up his roots from Palo Alto and moved here after retirement to spend quality time with Dad. I know it was a blessing for Dad. I know it was a blessing for Pete. He's going to struggle the most, having lost a friend that he was with nearly every day. He had other blessings that came his way too. Thank you to Cheyenne, Allison, and Tim. Are they in here? They owned the funeral. But thanks to them, they've done a great job of helping us do this. Big thanks to Emily and the White family for taking in an Indiana farm boy that loved pigs and making part of the family for 40 years. Thank you. We're going to start with the Threshold Choir. We've got Jen, John, and Susan. And if you don't know them, they're on the island, and they do, you have a choir of up to 7 people, is that right?
Actually, we have about 14.
14, thank you. And check with them if you have events that you need a choir. So you're going to start with the thank you song.
Thank you for your loving.
held and shared. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We have 2 open seats in front. I'd love for somebody to come up and use them. Right over here.
They're not easy to get out of, but they're very comfortable.
Yeah. So I got 2 seats right here. You can sit next to me.
That's good. No, you're fine. No, you're fine. Don't just kick my first one.
Thank you, Deb.
I'm Debbie. I'm Emily's second child, right? First daughter, for Stephanie. It's so nice to see everyone here today to remember and think about and celebrate an amazing life. Ted and I could get into a little bit of trouble together. He'd lead me astray occasionally, but we sure have a lot of fun. So I think we want to see some comments from the family. I'd just like to say that we don't need to discuss the colorful nicknames that Ted had. Perhaps Justin, if you'd like to come up and say a few words.
They grow them tall back in the Midwest.
Thanks everybody for coming out today.
It's really loud so they can hear you back there in the back.
Thank you.
Love you.
We're gonna have this thing on. Okay, I'll try and get through this as loudly as I can. But Grandpa would have been, and I'm gonna call him Grandpa, I'm gonna call him Dad. He would have really been appreciative to see everybody out here today. And float around the room, chat with everybody, hugs and laughing, and just connecting with all of us. And it got me thinking about kind of how we impacted each of us differently throughout the years. And everybody had kind of their own special connection to them. And I always go back to the course of a couple summers that we had together growing up, or back in the early 90s. My dad was back at the Air Force, his mom was working, my elder brothers had summer jobs, and I was a 14-year-old latchkey kid who wasn't allowed to have the latch to the house and the key to the house by myself. So I get dropped off in the morning with Grandpa and Emily, and the day would start with Grandpa finishing up breakfast at the table, a cup of coffee, legal pad, and the telephone, making morning phone calls. We get out, we do our chores, we get supplies from the nursery, we run around the community. A lot of Grandpa pointing and me shoveling, Grandpa pointing and me raking, mixed with some Grandpa pointing and me digging, and a lot of that would go on. But I just about all the pointing and my work, but the amount of hard work he could put in a day, and me keeping up as just a teenager, it was the effort. If you're going to do something, you're going to do it right, you're going to do it once, and you're going to clean up after. Always clean up after. Afternoon come, lunch back at the house, more phone calls. Some of them more boisterous than others. Back out to it, and there would be more chores around the house then. And we'd go through those. And we'd run around, having to run around Logansport for a few hours, checking on friends and family and friends. And if there was any projects that had to be done, again, like what Ted said, out in the community, projects at the fairgrounds, we'd do. The Art Association, we'd help out. Y, we'd do some work. Just help around the community. At the end of the day, wrap up back at the house, the kitchen table, sitting around, or a back bench in the back steps. Kind of just recapping what was going on. But again, there would be the phone, always calling people. And that's one place where the hard work, the community involvement, but the phone calls. I don't know how many of those calls I got. We all got them. But I was thinking about it. We don't need these types of events to reach out to each other. And I think we can all kind of carry on with that a little bit. Just picking up the phone every once in a while, no reason. He didn't need a reason, I don't need a reason, you don't need a reason. But pick up the phone, make the call, see how people are doing. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to Ted, it means a lot to the family. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin. Now we're going to have Marty, my favorite brother-in-law, come up and say a few words.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming.
You're not that
Marty
tall,
Cummings.
you can roll it if you want to.
Ted Blank was my father-in-law, and he was like a second father to Stephanie. We have deep feelings for him. Well, I had met him about 10 years ago, right on Thanksgiving Day in 2013, and early in the morning, and he invited me to pick up the holiday dessert pies from Bainbridge Bakery, right over here. And we got there, and he asked to speak with Mike, the owner, and he wanted to make sure that Mike had it right. He wanted to cut out one wedge slice out of the pumpkin pie before boxing it up and tying it, sitting along with the apple and pecan pies. And so while we sat and shared the slice over a cup of coffee, Ted told me that he'd get a big kick out of the reaction to whoever opened the box with the missing slice. After which he would say that he was going to go to that bakery and give him a piece of his mind. Well, his invitation to include me in that prank made me feel like I was part of a special club. And 2 days later, when I saw that there was a student driver magnet on the bumper of my rental car, I knew that I had advanced from club initiate to full-fledged membership. Ted would sometimes give Stephanie and me a ride to the ferry, which he insisted on doing, and then tease us that we owed him $13. So I sent him 26 rolls of pennies. Called to tell me, well played. My most treasured moments were spent seated at the kitchen table with Ted and Emily, Stephanie, and just visiting. Talk about family and friends, Logansport, Gasparilla, flowers, trees, history, sports, food, just about anything and everything. Ted used to have moments of inspiration regarding food. Marty, he'd say, I want you to try this piece of ham. Or it may have been bacon, maybe it was prosciutto. The cinnamon roll. For that, we had to go to the farmer's market right here. The waffles had to be from Tomas over at Letellier. And for oysters, it was Hama Hama. We drove out past Kilseen on the Hood Canal. It was Ted and Pete and myself one summer day to Hama Hama Oyster Saloon. You know, Hama Hama Company was established in 1922, the same year as Ted. Well, we got 60 oysters and 3 pints of beer. Grabbed a picnic table, nice view, had us a grand time. Well, Pete stepped away. I told Ted of my intentions with Stephanie. I was planning to propose and wanted to get their blessing. Well, of course, they had discussed it, and he thought that it was the right thing for me to do. And I asked him to keep it secret, and I knew that he would. And So I hold that memory really close to my heart because I knew a significant moment in my life, and that Ted would bring it up with me in remembrance a handful of times, and so I knew that it was important to him. And so that's all I have to say. And he was special. I had a special relationship with him, and he was just, from the heart, just really important to me. So, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. So nice. I don't think he took me out for any of those. Yeah, I think I missed some of those oysters in here, but that's okay.
You got plenty of sleep.
Okay, Pete, would you like to come up? I'm never quite sure.
I want to start by just saying thank you to a couple of people. Very pleased that Dr. Blaine Crandall and his daughter Kate are here. And also from the office, Leah. We got to see a lot of Dr. Crandall's office with Dad or with Emily or yesterday myself. Thank you so much for all that you folks did. I know the massages that you provided Kate were important to him in his health and his well-being. Speaking of massages, in our choir today, besides Jen and John, good friends, is Susan Madison, who was Dad's masseuse for many years up to COVID. Who would have thought an old farm boy from Indiana would have ended up being a massage. I get one every day if I could. Quit raising pigs and start raising oysters in the hood, good guy.
Oysters smell good.
I got to spend a lot of time with Dad the last couple of years, which was just a blessing. And I often ask myself, who is this guy? What is this guy? And I would often get back to one thing. And having been raised on a farm, it always struck a chord with me. So you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. And he was a farm boy, whether he was 15 or 25 or 65 or 100 or 102. First and foremost, I think Dad was always a farm boy. I think that's one reason that he developed so many wonderful relationships with people, is there was just that good, basic Indiana, a simplicity of purpose and, in a sense, pureness of self that people resonated with the better parts of each of us. It certainly resonated with me. And I was thinking, how can I share with folks at the memorial service what that really means to be a farm boy from Indiana. Moment of inspiration. Some of you have heard Dad recite this poem. When the Frost is on the Pumpkin by Indiana's poet laureate James Whitcomb Riley. And when I read these words, I see a young Ted Blank, even younger than this Ted Blank, out in the pastures and the cornfields of Indiana. It's only 2 pages. When the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's in the shock, and they hear the cuke and gobble of the strutting turkey cock, and the clacking of the guineas and the clucking of the hens, and the rooster's hallelujah as he tiptoes on the fence. Oh, it's then the times a feller is a feeling at his best, with the rising sun to greet him from a night of peaceful rest. as he leaves the house bareheaded and goes out to feed the stock, when the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's in the shock. You can all join in on that. Several opportunities. There's something kind of hearty-like about the atmosphere when the heat of summer's over and the coolin' fall is here. Of course, we miss the flowers and the blossoms on the trees and the mumble of the hummingbirds and the buzzing of the bees. But the air is so appetizing and the landscape through the haze of a crisp and sunny morning of the early autumn days is a picture that no painter has the coloring to mock when the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's in the shock. The husky, rusty rustle of the tossels of the corn and the rasping of the tangled leaves as golden as the morn. The stubble and the furies, kind of lonesome like, but still a-preaching sermons to us of the barns they grow to fill. The straw stack in the medder and the reaper in the shed, the hosses in their stalls below, the clover overhead. Oh, it sets my heart a-clicking like the ticking of a clock when the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's in the shock. Then your apples, all is gathered, and the ones a feller keeps is poured around the cellar floor in red and yellow heaps. And your cider making is over, and the women folks is through with their mince and apple butter and their souse and sausage too. Tom and I were just talking about how my grandmother and dad's sisters would make apple butter in the driveway out behind the house in an open fire in a big copper pot, which I think Tom has. I don't know how to tell it, but if such a thing could be, as the angels wanted Borden, they'd call around on me. I'd want to accommodate them, the whole enduring flock, when the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's finished. That is about Dad and for him. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. I think now we want to hear from Linda. Linda?
Good morning, and thank you all for coming. It's so nice to see some faces, meet you, because we've heard lots of stories, particularly about the locals, so it's really nice to connect that face with that name. I think, I'm sorry, I forgot. I am Linda, and I'm married to Ted, the other Ted, and I'm one of the two daughter-in-laws that he has. And Emily. To make things simpler, I'm going to refer to him as the elder, the OT, instead of Ted. It's my privilege to share some words with you today. I really did love OT. My father had passed away at age 90, in 94 at 75. And so we just had that kind of kinship, OT and I. Oftentimes Ted would say, I think he likes you better than he likes me. He kind of teased me about that, but I did have that kind of relationship with him, and so I'm really honored to say a few words today. Well, Ted and I have been married for 46 years, and for 44 of those years, we've resided in Colorado, so our relationship was always kind of a long-distance relationship, and thank goodness for cell phones. If he would have been a little more gadget-oriented, we would have FaceTime, but that wasn't his shtick. So we talked a lot on the phone. Really didn't know very much about Ted, having only spent 2 years with him in Indiana, and even that we lived in a different town and didn't get to see each other often. And I really didn't know much about the farm operations, but I do know this, that his life's work was really, really important to him. And it wasn't just the physical thing of farming, but that he got so involved with communities, was a leader, and was well known in the community. And I'm very proud of him that he could make a livelihood being a farmer, a successful farmer. But it was really about the time of his retirement that I got to know him better. It was a time where he could slow down and reap the benefits of his labors. Whereas a good number of retirees, as we all know, sometimes get to that stage and they don't have a clue what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. But with OT, it was game on to endless possibilities. If I could give a metaphor, he was like a flower bud just waiting to blossom. It was like he wanted to reinvent himself. And so he did. His interests were wide and numerous. I'm just going to tell you some of his curiosities and some of the things that he did that I thought was amazing. At 84, he sold 2 homes, one here in Bainbridge, one in Indiana. He sold his car, and he bought a car. He left Indiana and traveled to Bainbridge for a permanent residence. Isn't that amazing at 84? Not only that, once he arrived and settled in, he had both of his knees replaced simultaneously. He was ready for some new adventures. He loved the beach and he loved sunshine. Annually, he and Em traveled for 30 years plus back and forth to Boca Grande, Florida. That's Bainbridge, all the way across the country. He later came to say that, I'm not doing this much unless I can do first class. And I thought, he deserves it. He joined friends from other states for 4 to 6 years, and they became known as the Boca Buddies. He walked the beach usually twice a day, and it was a long beach, and he hunted for shells, and he became the resident expert on the beach in shelling. People would come, bring their shells to him, he'd examine them. Yes, that's a keeper, no, it's not. He knew them by name. He could identify them. He had picture postcards or printout of all those different shells, but he was interested in that kind of thing. He became a master gardener, and he loved things in nature and beautiful botanicals. I am a retired florist, and I had a small floral company. This was an area that we both loved to talk about. He often called and was curious about what kind of flowers and what colors I was working on for the day. On other calls, he would tell me how many different plants around his garden that were blooming, name of the flower, what color. He just soaked it all in. His gardens were remarkable, and each property that he and Emily owned through the years was a testimony of his love of botanicals. He loved finding every possible variety of both daylilies and hostas, and if there was one to be owned and a new one came out, he knew about it. He was always seeking those, and his gardens were displayed with those. He purchased a horse and a sulky with a friend and learned all about harness racing and, of course, the ups and downs of that sport. He volunteered at a local art gallery here on Bainbridge. He learned about mixed art mediums. In so doing, he got to know numerous shop owners and the people of downtown Winslow, and they knew him. They knew each other on first name basis. He volunteered to count salmon one year in spawning season. He volunteered at Blodell. He wrote his own memoirs at 95 and got it published. Who does that? He planned his own birthday parties when he turned 90, 95, 100. Always fabulous food, music, flowers, cake. He never missed any details. He does those kinds of things at 80s and 90s and 100s. I just find it remarkable. These are examples, as I was thinking about them, that made me start thinking about his longevity. And I'll summarize kind of my bullet points. In my lifetime, I don't know one other person that lived to be that age. I don't know how many here know someone personally that age, but it's a personal thing for me. in that I was able to witness his stamina and his love of life and be part of that journey. So the number one thing, he definitely came from a healthy gene pool. Both his parents and his siblings, his two sisters, all lived to reach their 90s. Remarkable. He was blessed with many healthy years, and it was really only in a span of about 2 months before his passing that his body just wore out. He nonetheless was sharp and of sound mind. Maybe you'd have a different story, Dr. Crandall, I don't know. He was amazing. Number two, he was very social, and he loved people well, from babies. And did you happen to see how many babies he held in that video? He loved squeezing on them. Number two, to his peers and family, he was a lover of life. He had multiple people groups that he would surround himself with, and they traveled, they laughed, they tailgated, they cocktail partied. He surrounded himself with positive thinking people, and I think that's important. It takes being a friend to know one, and he was as loyal and committed to those who were lucky enough to call him a friend. Through the years, I have heard of some of his peers saying, I want to be just like Ted Blank when I grow up. And a lot of them younger, and also, well, I don't know how many older, but he gave 100% of his life to life's work as a farmer. And did I say 100, 110? I'm jumping ahead. If he gave 100% to his life's work, he gave 110% to his retirement and friends. Number three, he was a doer. Whatever he set himself about, he gave it his full effort. He never gave up learning all that there was to learn about what he was interested in. Number four, he had great sense of humor. He was a jokester, often playing practical jokes on his very close friends. They would retaliate, but it would not deter him from wanting to get one up on them one more time. Maybe some of you in the room were part of that scheme or gag, I don't know. He was a great storyteller, and he liked to laugh at himself. He even got tickled at himself as he shared his personal experiences. The most important thing, I think, and this is the last, I think that contributed to his long life was his curiosity. He was a lifelong learner, and he frequently challenged himself to learn a new skill, meet a new friend, and continue to grow. He impacted so many lives because of what he held in his heart, and that was the joy of life. He lived life to the fullest and was so inspirational to me and so many others. Ted and I have friends in Colorado and around the country who became acquainted with OT. They always ask how he was and to tell him they send their regards. Now that's the kind of person I want to be my friends, somebody who's interested in my life. I am going to miss that old guy, and I'm blessed to have had him as my father-in-law and a friend. I hope, as you have heard some of the words, not only from me, but from the others today, that you will be encouraged to keep on keeping on. Thanks for listening.
See why they like her. Pretty easy.
Are there any other family members that would like to come forward and talk about Ted? I know we've got some other folks from the community too. Okay, so Jerry Childress, if you'd like to come up.
No. Jeez. Lots of things went through my head as I was walking up here, and listening to what other people had to add. And I'd like to point out that I shop at Nordstrom, but this isn't a suit that I would get at Nordstrom. This was my dad's suit that I inherited when he died about a decade ago, and he was a Texas farm boy, and my mom would say all the time, you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. And Ted resonated with me from day one. I am cinnamon role. My first experience with Ted was at the farmer's market, and I'm a sophisticated baker with fantastic French baked goods, and this country bumpkin comes up and with a weird hat and says, "Give me one of them buns right there." And I was like, all right then. And it was on. And I've heard someone else say that he liked their wife more than he liked them. And I felt the same way about Ted. Man, but I don't even know what it would have been like to have been his son, because he would have called me on all of my stuff. Because he just didn't back off me. He would point out things that maybe I was a little shady. I mean, I really did. Like, what the heck? My dad's dead. This is, oh, and I've heard other people say that too. It's like a surrogate father, but with a better sense of humor and style. Man, guy was amazing to me and to all of you, and that's why we're all here. And I even recall when he was volunteering down the street at the Arts and Humanities at the time, and talking, and I was like, man, how do you do that? And I watch him every single day. He was a creature of habit, I think, maybe, and he would drive up in his Buick, and at the time, he's in his 90s at least, and he would get out of that car right in front of my shop, and I'd watch him, and he would get out of the car with more alacrity, more vigor, more mobility than I had at 50. And I would pay attention to that, because when he'd leave, I'd say, is he going to like get in with 2 feet on the ground? And no, the guy was amazing. He was a physical specimen. He was a mental giant in humble clothing, and it just sparked. It's days gone by, it's like they just don't make them like that anymore. And life has changed, things move on, but there's never going to be anybody like Ted, I don't think. Yeah, right, you guys. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you.
Senator Rolls. Glad to hear it.
Thank you, Jerry. And then Sarah, Papa John, did you want to say a few things? I just lost you. No? Okay, well, we appreciate that. Would anybody else like to contribute anything today?
I think I would like to say one thing.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So just real quick, because Thanksgiving is coming up, and Thanksgiving is so Ted. And I've spent the last 20-something Thanksgivings with him. And the first Thanksgiving that I hosted at my home for all, I think some of the Blanks were there and all the Whites were there. I would say maybe 25 to 28 people there. And I got the butter trick. And those of you that don't know the butter trick, I think we could probably do a show of hands of who he has done the butter trick to. Yeah. And that was that he would say, "Melissa, can you pass me the butter?" And you go to pass the butter, and he shoves it into your hand, and you get the butter all over your fingers. And he did it every Thanksgiving. He would look around, who's going to be my victim? He made sure to sit next to me every Thanksgiving, and he always made the mashed potatoes. I had to have the butter soft and the milk heated and everything ready for him, everything boiled and ready to go. But I just remember thinking on my very first Thanksgiving, hosting these 25 people, and he shoves the butter into my finger. And it just was a yearly, for 20-something years, he found one victim to stick the butter into their fingers. And he was just the most fun guy, and we'll miss him this Thanksgiving. I don't even know if I'm going to have Thanksgiving.
Anybody else, please?
Hi everyone. I really feel privileged to have been Ted's doctor for this last decade, and I inherited him as a patient. You locals probably know Dr. Keyes, Greg Keyes,
Yes.
who invited me to become his partner in 2013, and so that's where I inherited Ted. And there was the one story I wanted to share is a funny one. Of course, there are so many funny stories about Ted. It was after Greg had retired, one day Ted came in with a picture frame, and it had a $5 bill in it. And he said, "You need to give this to Dr. Keyes." And I was pretty curious about that, and so he told me the story about one time he was in the room waiting for Dr. Keyes to see him, as we know happens sometimes with doctor's appointments, and had been waiting a bit, and Greg came in, and Ted said something like, "Well, how much are you going to pay me for my time waiting for you here?" And Greg pulled out his wallet and handed him a $5, and he got down to business, and that's what was the frame. It was that $5 bill, and it saved it all of these years. Framed it to give back to Greg, and so I did. Greg really laughed. And just, I've never had that happen as a doctor before. That's a real blessing.
Thank you. It reminds me of his jokes and pranks and just clever things that he would do. It's always a treat. Anyone else before we move ahead? Please. Go ahead, Brandon.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brandon. I'm the youngest grandson. And this is one of those goofy hats that was this belonged to Grandpa. My special. I just want to tell a quick story, fun story, to let you all know what I most respected and cherished about Grandpa. I don't know if anyone's called his house in the last 10 years, but if you did, you get a message from some sort of service that says, "If you are a solicitor, please hang up right now." I'm responsible for that message. The reason why that's there was it was probably 2009 or 2010, and I had just gone on a cruise with my wife, so we were out of the country, no cell phone service, and when we got back to Miami, I had a ton of missed calls from Mom, Dad, and then there was one from Grandpa. And I don't remember the details, but after I finally got a hold of Grandpa, he got on the phone and says, "Randy, you tell me one thing. Are you in prison in Poland?" And it took me a second. Well, I've been out of the country. No, Grandpa, I did not. But he fell scam to some of those criminals that call elderly people, and apparently he had the person that called Grandpa sounded exactly like me, and said, "I'm in prison, I'm in Poland, and I need $5,000 wired right now, and don't tell Dad." And obviously, my parents were aware of it, and we cleared it up. But the reason why I tell that story is because the thing I most admire about Grandpa was his generosity. He didn't, thankfully, but I can swear he had his car keys and his wallet, and he was ready to go bail me out. But Grandpa was incredibly generous, not only with his resources, but with his time and himself. We've heard several people mention volunteering at the art galleries, volunteering at the gardens, giving him his time. But more than anything, all of you that know Grandpa know that he gave himself. You never met someone that is more friendly, that won't just start talking to a stranger, and he poured himself into everyone that was around him. I can just imagine, you hear the phrase pouring yourself out. I just imagine Grandpa going on all of his errands, pouring into each of one of those people that he saw on a daily basis. The owner of the bakeries, the cashiers at the store, just by anybody that came across him that he poured himself out. So,
Thank you, Brandon. So if there's no one else, I think that we'd like to hear, I think that we're up for the choir, so Amazing Grace. Thank you.
How sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my tears relieved. I once just did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. His grace hath brought me safe and far, and grace will lead me home. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Amazing Grace, thank you. I have a story of Amazing Grace. I know that this group comes from a lot of different places, have a lot of different attitudes, opinions, philosophies, thoughts about spiritual things, and I respect those. I hope you'll give me the latitude to say what I'm going to say today. We respect your opinions and thoughts. I'm going to share a 10-year story of faith and my interaction with Dad. He was not a church-going kind of guy, not really religious, but very principled, very ethical. Ethical is when you do the right thing when nobody's watching, and he did. he believed in the Judeo-Christian principles and values. Often when we gathered for family meals, Dad would ask somebody to say grace. I never quite understood the why of that, but he did. I know he financially supported local churches in Logansport. My mom, Helen Johanches, was born in Montreal, Canada. She was Catholic, and they met in the early 40s and married in 1944. And they had a Catholic wedding, and the priest married them. And she told Dad somewhere in there, I want to raise these 3 boys in the Catholic Church. I would have loved to have been able to hear some of those discussions. I bet they were interesting. But I would bet at the end of the discussion, he would kind of go, okay, whatever you think. So Mom took 3 boys to Catholic church, kicking and screaming every Sunday. We sat there for 18 years, and then we went to college. And I don't think much of the Catholic faith stuck with Ted, Tom, or Pete once we left home. Dad never went to church. He had pigs to feed. He had things to do. But after church, we'd all get home with the, I think, Indianapolis Star, and we'd all read the paper together, sports page, funny page, business page, on Sunday, and have a good Sunday meal. When I turned 37, I felt there was something missing in my life. And my wife, Linda, at the same time, had a similar feeling. We became followers of Jesus and got very involved in our local church. In 1985, our neighbors invited us to Christmas Eve service, and we went to that church for 35 years every Sunday since then, unless we were traveling. And we still attend church today when we're in town. Other than COVID got us all doing things a little different. We'd watch it on TV if we weren't there. But I wondered where Dad was regarding God. Did he have a relationship with God? Did he believe there was a God? Did he know Jesus? That's when he said, I asked him, and he said, Ted, if you're a farmer, you believe in God. When I sought a deeper conversation with him, he would deflect and say, Ted, I'm not comfortable talking about that. 10 years ago. And every couple years, it was hard, but when I had him in the car by myself, I'd raise the question, and he'd go, I don't want to talk about it. And one time he said, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to live my life one way. And just because I'm getting to the end of it, over 90, I don't want to become a church goer. It's just hypocritical. And then I told him a story about Jesus' crucifixion. And the verse is in your handouts. Whenever you see a picture of the cross, you a lot of times see 2 crosses on each side. So Jesus was in the middle, and there were 2 thieves, 2 criminals, hung on both sides. And I'm quoting the Bible. One of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at Jesus. Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us. But the other criminal rebuked him. Don't you fear God, he said. Since you are under the same sentence, we are punished justly. For we were getting what our deeds deserve, but this man has done nothing wrong. Then he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus answered him, truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. He said that to the criminal. The criminal wasn't hypocritic, wasn't a hypocrite. He simply experienced something new that he didn't previously know, and he changed his mind. at the last minute. I told Dad it's never too late to establish a relationship with God. We continued brief one-sided discussions over time when I had him locked in the car. And when I called on Sunday to talk about horse racing, basketball, Purdue, I would always say, "How was church today?" And he'd always say, I think with a smile, "It was really good." My brother Tom, who I will always appreciate for doing this, called me in August and said, "Dad's getting weak. I don't know how much longer he has." We were just out in July of this year celebrating 101 birthdays. And I was thinking 102, 103, because he was doing great. But in August, he started losing strength. He'd fallen 4 times. He had to go to a care facility. And I told Tom, "Let me know before it gets too late." So he called and said, "You better get here." So on Friday, September 8th, Dad died on September 23rd. On September 8th, I came out for a 2-day visit. He was still very communicative, very alert. He never lost anything up here, but he needed help whenever he had to get out of bed. So I was there Friday. Saturday, the 3 sons spent most of the day with him. And I said, "Dad, I want to read to you the verse that I want to read at your funeral. Would that be okay?" He said, "Yeah, that's fine. Read it to me." And this verse was a discussion between Jesus and a holy man. And most of us call it the Good Samaritan verse. It's about loving your neighbor. And that's who I thought Dad was. This is quoting the Bible again. "The holy man answered, 'Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself.' Jesus said, 'You have answered correctly. Do this and you will live.' But the holy man wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, 'Well, who is my neighbor?' In reply, Jesus said, 'A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened by, going down the same road, and he saw the man, and he passed to the other side of the street. So too a Levite, another holy man, when he came to the place he saw him, he passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, and a Samaritan was somebody that didn't get along with the Jews. The Jews and Samaritans were not buddies. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was. And when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wound, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. 'Look after him,' he said, 'and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have.' Jesus said, 'Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?' The expert in the law replied, 'The one who had mercy on him.' Jesus told him, 'Go and do likewise.' Dad said, 'I'm okay with that.' So that Saturday, September the 9th, we said our goodbyes. That's hard. we probably would not see each other in the future. The next morning, my ferry left at 8:45. Sunday morning. Tom was on the island. He Ubered me over on the way. The facility opened at 8 o'clock. So I had a few minutes to say goodbye to Dad. When we were leaving for the ferry, I asked, is there anything that we could do for him before he left? I was thinking a drink of water, a cover, something to eat. He looked at me. You said, Ted, I want to go to heaven. Do you think God will forgive me? My heart leapt. You said, Dad, God's already forgiven you. Right now there's a celebration in heaven. My heart leapt. You said, Dad, I floated home. I don't think I needed the ferry. I didn't need the airplane. It's a story of faith, patience, and the goodness of God for me and for my dad. I will miss Dad. I even today want to pick up the phone and call him. I can't believe he's not here. I want to talk to him about Purdue. It's strange not to have him here, but I'm not sad at him passing. I'm not sad at his death because I know where he is. If he was able to come back today, I think I know what he would say. He would say, heaven is really greater than I thought it could be, than any of us thought. He would probably say, you don't have to wait till the last minute, like the thief on the cross. And I also know he would say, I'm glad I got my taste buds back because I've been missing martinis. Thank you. Another side.
To your call once more we rally, alma mater, hear our praise. Where the Wabash threads in valley filled with joy, our voices raise. From the skies in swelling echoes come the cheers that tell the tale of your victories and your heroes. Hail Purdue, we sing. Oh, hail. Hail, hail to old Purdue.
All hail to our old gold and black.
Hail, hail to old Purdue.
Our friendship may she never last.
Ever grateful, ever true.
Thus we raise our song to you.
Of the days we spent with you, all hail shelter back to you. May our hearts with love be yearning for the scenes of old Purdue. Back among your pathways winding, let us seek what lies before. On your lips their names and handing mighty when we think of yore. Hail, hail to old Purdue.
All hail to our old golden land. Hail, hail to old Purdue. Our friendship may she never lack. Ever grateful, ever true, thus we raise our song to you. Of the days we spent with you. All hail our home Purdue.
We appreciate your effort here. It was lovely. Just in closing, we'd like to end with a video and a song about when my mother and Ted were down in Florida, they would gather for the setting sun, and often there were bagpipes or some other instrument, and they would all gather there and watch the sun go down. And so that's how we'd like to close this too. Thank you so much for being here.
One more time.
It was really, I hope everyone will get that a little bit more. It was so wonderful to have you all here and to share these good memories. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm sorry. Right, and if you'd all like to go to Agate Pass, there's refreshments there for everyone, and we can gather together a little bit more. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
See you at Agate? My sister's kind of freaking out. Oh God, don't get me started.
I know that was your favorite restaurant. That's where you had his birthday. Oh my gosh.
I don't know. It's us and OSU. Yeah, it's just, I just think it's so disappointing. It's never mind the football aspect of it, like it's going to destroy our university. Look how hold it if you're not part of the Pac-12, or athletics, or academics, or anything. And it makes me so, it just makes me so angry. Well, I mean, before them it was the California guys, and whatever, it's like, they're so big for their britches, like, just be in the Pac-12, like, why does it matter? You know,
kids to go and play on Mondays because people don't want to. Who's going to want to go to Pullman and play Fresno State? You know, I mean, and so we don't mind being the underdogs, right? Like we don't care that we weren't always the first in the Pac-12. So we love that. You know, and there's all these fun videos like Hoops versus everyone, and that's how we like it. We don't mind being the underdog, and everyone gets money, but it's a pleasure. I mean, it's like that. So it's really exciting about that. No worries.
Hi, I'm Marty. Marty, yeah, thanks for, a nice little segue there. Yeah. So Renaissance man, right? I knew, a lot about it, but I didn't know the whole thing. Oh, I know it because those happened on my watch. There were coasters. There was horse shit. Bibles on it. You do? Yeah. I'm talking about Frank's because I was with Frank, they did what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, what was on with that? Thank God for that. I never got there after empty pipe and it's really I saw others as right as life was going out. And you can wish him San Francisco. Like high school teachers, high school.